What's up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. How are y'all doing today? My cousins, was good. So today we're in the kitchen and we are about to make some cornbread dressing. So this is the cornbread dressing that my mom used to make. We're gonna call it Granny's cornbread dressing, but it's really my mom, but the kids call her Granny. Only difference in this one is I'm making it to my older kids liking, and one of my younger kids. They don't like the chicken livers and the gizzards that my mom used to put in ours. So I'm gonna sub that out and do a rotisserie chicken shredded into the cornbread dressing. So I just wanted to share this video so that way if they want to click on this video and cook with me while they're at home, because I probably won't see them for Thanksgiving, but I will definitely see you guys for Christmas because I gotta see my grandbabies, okay? So let's get into this video and hopefully it's not a long one. The one thing you're gonna need to do is make you some cornbread. I'm using two things. I'm using cornbread and I'm using the crumbles that you get from the store. Let me show you. So today we're gonna be using this Pepperidge Farm cornbread classic stuffing along with the Jiffy corn mix. Now you don't have to use this. You can just use this, or you don't have to use this. You can just use that. So it is up to you what you choose to do. But today we are going to use, this is the ingredients you're going to be doing for your cornbread. Follow the instructions on the box and then we'll take it from there. So sorry, my youngest child is gabbing at the mouth right now. But you guys, cornbread, if you're using that, try to do that a day ahead of time or at least 3 hours before you're ready to do your dressing, because you want to have that nice and cooled off. That way when you're crumbling it up, it doesn't mush up, okay? So good. I already shook it up. See the apple sitting in there? And before y'all get in the comments and say, well, I shouldn't be, that's why I put that on there. Take a sip. Don't trip. Life is hard enough without us tripping over it. What are you tripping for? That might help my throat. That might help. We're going to put this in the oven, 400-degree oven, for 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven. Boil 5 eggs. 3 will go into my dressing. The other 2 will go into a giblet gravy I'm going to make. But I'll make the giblet gravy without the giblets, okay? Because like I said, they don't want the giblets. So I'm going to show them how to do the gravy just using a rotisserie chicken that I got from Sam's Club, but you can use turkey as well. Okay, so what you're seeing right here is a jar of celery. The tip was, if you have celery in your refrigerator, you don't want it to go bad. Celery, no vegetables lasting a long time now from the grocery store. So on the 8th of November, today is the 18th of November. On the 8th, I put this, so what's that, 10 days? Yeah. I put that in some water, just water, no nothing else, just water. And it has preserved my celery. So I'm gonna take that out, chop them up, and I'm also gonna cut up my onions, and I'm only using 2 onions. And that is going to, I don't do like a trio thing. I do celery and I do onions. I'm keeping it basic. And I'll saute those down until they are translucent, and those will go into the dressing. Oh yeah, still fresh. You heard that snap. So these are in halves. So that's kind of gonna be like 1. So I'm just gonna do 2 of these. So that's 2. I could use my chopper. I should use my chopper. Yeah, let me do that. So I actually really like this Some people put theirs in a food processor. I'm not pulling that bulky item out. I'm just not going to do it. So that it fits in this little square spot, I'll just cut it again. Yeah. You get these right here, kind of fine. I'll still give them a rough dice, but that's good enough for right now. So when you finish chopping these up, I'm gonna do the same thing with the onions, and I'll be back. You also want to start melting. This is about a little less than a half stick of butter. And you're going to melt that down because that's what you're sauteing your onions and your celery in. So I just pulled out the cornbread. And you're just going to put your knife or your toothpick in. Nothing is on it, so you know it's good. While that's cooling off, I'm going back to my chopping. And I'm just going to cut it into smaller pieces. I have the cornbread in the refrigerator just because I'm pressed for time. Otherwise, I would let it just cool on its own. And that chops it up pretty fine. You can kind of see in there how fine it is. And now I'm just going to add my onions and my celery. Now at this point, you can add your seasonings, like your poultry seasoning, your sage, to your onions and your celery. Or you can wait and you can add it directly to your dish. I prefer to add it to my dish because I want to make sure that every inch of my bread is flavored with that and not just on the onions itself. Now that's not the only bit of butter you're going to use, but for sauteing, all you need is about 1/4 stick to a half stick of butter, depending on how much you're cooking in your pot. Get these down, and why I have these so fine is because it'll take less time to cook down and become translucent to the point where you can kind of see through your onions. So once this gets to that point, well, when this gets to that point, then we'll move on to the next step. Now you're going to chop up your eggs. And you can put your eggs in that same cutter that I had, but I've already put that in the sink, so I wasn't thinking about it. These eggs cook perfectly at 12 minutes exactly. Now, let's say if you have bigger eggs, do 15 minutes. But these were kind of small eggs. I picked the small ones. This is what you want your onions to look like, kind of clear, see-through. So now we're going to take our rotisserie chicken. We're going to do this last because I didn't want to bring out my other cutting board. I wanted to just use one cutting board right here. Now the chicken is warm. Smaller pieces, shred it into smaller pieces. If you want to put it in the food processor and do it that way, you can. However, you can stretch that meal so that everybody will have, you know, enough food and not feel like they're sacrificing. Don't drop meat. No. Not feel like they're sacrificing their meal. And if they want seconds, you don't have to feel bad about, oh, I don't have seconds for my family. So this will feed a family of 4. It will feed more than 4. But I'm saying for a family of 4, like I have, it'll be enough for you to go back, get seconds, or to save it and have it for a meal the following day. So as fine as I can get it. Okay, so we have our cornbread. It has cooled off. I had it in the refrigerator because you don't want it wet. And when it's hot right out the oven, it's going to be a little too moist. And you don't want to be making mush, but you want a nice, consistent dressing for this end, just like that. Add your cornbread. Get it all in there. There we go. If you have some bigger pieces, go ahead and just crumble those up too. Y'all make sure your hands clean. Make sure your hands clean. You gotta wash your hands multiple times. That's why mine is so ashy right now. I'm gonna go ahead and add my chicken broth. This is a 48 ounce. I'm gonna eyeball it. I probably won't need but maybe 32 to 36 ounces of this, but we'll see. Might need it all, who knows? We don't want, okay, stop there and stir it. We don't want too much. We don't want no watery. Now, some people don't add egg to theirs. I add at least 1 egg to mine because I feel like it gives it a more fluffier appearance and it tastes better. It's more richer. So I'm gonna hold off on the rest of the liquid. I still have some in there. First, we're gonna add our meat. Your meat of choice. Mix that around. That's why I said we're gonna hold off on that rest of the liquid because we may have to add more than that to it. Who knows? See how it's distributed in there? Everybody should get a little bite of some kind of meat. Okay, now we're gonna add our eggs, celery, and onions. Things are gonna start coming to life the minute you start putting that sage and other seasonings in, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute because I could not find my poultry seasoning, but I have everything in here that I need except for one thing in order to make my own poultry seasoning, you guys. So I may start just making my own. Okay, let's get to the seasonings. We're gonna use black pepper, sea salt. Of course, we're gonna use our sage. But if you wanna add poultry seasoning and you don't have any poultry seasoning, the ingredients inside of poultry seasoning is sage, thyme, nutmeg, who knew, right? And rosemary, and another spice called marjoram. I don't have that, but I might look for it. So I don't really measure, but for video purposes, we gonna pull out the measuring spoon. So for pepper, I'm gonna do, what is this? 1 teaspoon. Now you can always go back and after you taste it and see what it tastes like before you add your egg, if you add egg. With the rosemary, open that up. I'm gonna do a half teaspoon. Half teaspoon for the rosemary, the nutmeg, the thyme, and the sage. I'm gonna do 1. So this is a half teaspoon of rosemary. Half teaspoon of nutmeg. I know you like nutmeg, but I didn't know that was in poultry seasoning, did you? If so, you knew more than me. And a half a teaspoon of thyme. Okay. Now for the sage, because I would normally use sage anyway, and I like a lot of sage, I'm gonna actually use one teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. Let me get it right. I can't get that in there. What was I thinking? You see, I like a lot of sage. I'm about out of this one. I have another one. I have more. So that's 1 teaspoon. And then I'm gonna mix it up and I'm gonna taste it and see if I need to add any more sage or not. I need a little more sage, you guys. So it's gonna end up being 2 teaspoons, heavy teaspoons of sage. More pepper to mine. You do yours to taste. And then I know I'm missing salt. I'm gonna eyeball my salt. 1 teaspoon. That tastes good. I'm gonna add some more broth. Throwing my taste off. Everything tastes fine, but I'm like, I'm missing something. So let's add some sugar. Now we're gonna add, that's 1, 2. I'm gonna stir it around and see what it tastes like. I'm like, what am I missing? So now this is a half a stick of butter. If you want to use a full stick, you can. The only reason I use a half is because I like to mix my butter in. And then once it cooks almost done, I add the other half to the top. See what I'm saying? Got to get that goodness in there. I got a double yolker. I forgot to put my egg in. Remember, I wanted to taste it before I put my egg in. That's why I don't be recording, because it makes me forget. So get that stirred up really good. I would normally put 1 egg in, but that was a double yolker, so I have 2 eggs in there. Again, that's gonna make it, it's already fluffing up with me just doing that. So I hope the skillet is big enough. Make sure you spray your skillet. Now you want to place it in a preheated oven that is at 400 degrees. I cook my dressing, now everybody's different and your oven is different. I cook my dressing for 45 minutes. But the first 30 minutes, I cook it covered with aluminum foil. The last 15 minutes of it, I take the foil off because I want it to brown on top. And that's when I put the butter, melted butter on top. Normally, I would do my giblet gravy with butter, flour, make a roux, and go from there. But it's late, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this brown gravy mix right here. I would use my gizzards and livers to do this, but we're going to use the rest of this chicken. Let me show you. I'm just pulling the chicken apart. Move that out of the way. All I'm doing is pulling it apart. I'm not cutting the chicken because you want it to be bigger pieces for the gravy. No skin. So once you saute your onions, I'm gonna take the remainder of this liquid right here, the broth, and put that in there just for some added flavor and just for I can't use it with anything else, so no waste. For your brown gravy, I use the powdered mix that I showed you. Just add water to it, stir it until it does not have any lumps or bumps in it. Pour that in. Bring it to a boil. Go ahead and add your meat. You can just knock the meat off the bone. This still got some skin on it, so. There we go. Just because I want a little more extra gravy in there. I want it to cover the meat. Bring this to a boil. Oh, add your eggs. Y'all, I chopped it up on my on my napkin. So bring this to a boil. Go ahead and put your salt and pepper in it. I also add a little bit of sugar to mine. And once it comes to a boil, then I'll add my slurry, which is cornstarch and water. Place the remaining butter on top of the dressing. Okay, you guys, here is the finished product. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. But when I tell you, I thought I had my oven on 400 degrees. It was actually on 350. So I ended up doing 30 minutes at 350, but then I had to bump it up to 400. And then I did 45 minutes and it cooked. So do 400 for 40 minutes, depending on your oven and how brown you want it. Look at this. My gravy is done. Ooh, look at that chicken in there. Look at that. Look at that. Ooh. Oh, it's hot. Oh. I just pulled this out the oven. Guys, look at that. Can you make that out? The goodness of that. Look at that chicken right there. Oh my gosh. Look at that. That's good stuff. So y'all, I thought I was recording all that time, but I want you to see how, Lord, that looks so good. So good. And it tastes so good, y'all. I done took about 5 bites already and realized I didn't even record me putting the gravy on here. But that gravy with that chicken and that onions, oh my gosh, y'all. I about done ate the whole thing before I even showed y'all. Let me stop. I got to go get my cranberry sauce right now. Got me eating late because I needed to do this video. Y'all have a blessed one. And subscribe to the channel.